All right, let's get right into it. There's a huge transformation happening in the South Bay right now. I mean, the whole landscape we're all used to, those sprawling office parks, it's all on the brink of a massive pivot. We're talking about a completely new vision for what it means to live and work here.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at why the commercial real estate market is at this huge turning point. Then we'll zoom in on a wild example of the shift from offices to apartments. After that, we'll check out the super vibrant local business scene that's popping up, talk about why telling the right story in this new economy is so crucial, and finally, we'll peek into what the South Bay's next chapter could really look like.
Okay, so let's set the stage. The entire Los Angeles commercial real estate market has been going through some seriously choppy waters lately. And you know what? The South Bay is right in the middle of that storm.
Now, look at these numbers. This is what's so wild. Office property prices are down almost 28%. Retail, down over 21%. These aren't just little dips in the market. This is a massive reset that's forcing everyone to completely rethink what these buildings are even for.
But here's where the story takes a turn. This isn't just about things falling apart. A lot of analysts are saying the market is starting to hit bottom. And why? Because people are getting creative. New strategies are coming out, and the big one is this idea of adaptive reuse.
So, what does adaptive reuse actually look like on the ground? Well, there's a perfect case study playing out in Manhattan Beach right now. It's a single proposal, but man, it perfectly captures this huge shift from commercial to residential.
This right here is the whole trend in a nutshell. On one hand, you've got your standard 78,000 square foot office building, and on the other, the proposal to replace it with a 500-unit apartment complex. This is the new reality, taking spaces that were designed for cubicles and meetings and turning them into places people can actually call home.
And inside that big number, 500 units, is another number that's just as important, 100. That's how many of these new apartments would be set aside for low-income residents. So this isn't just about building more stuff. It's a real attempt to tackle the region's huge need for affordable housing.
So let's get into the details. We're talking 500 total units, and a full fifth of those are affordable. The building itself would be 71 feet tall and have parking for 800 cars. This isn't just some idea. It's a very real plan that could completely change that part of Manhattan Beach.
Now, while all these huge real estate moves are happening, down on the street level, the community is just buzzing with activity. You can really feel a sense of momentum as local businesses are making some big moves.
I mean, come on, this is a perfect example of that local confidence. If you're from the South Bay, you know Mickey's Deli. It's an absolute institution. So seeing them expand and open a second spot in North Redondo, that's a huge sign of optimism for the local economy.
And then over in Hermosa Beach, a brand new place called Tiki Kai just opened up. It's a tropical-themed restaurant and bar right there on the Pier Plaza. It's just another sign that entrepreneurs are willing to invest here and create cool new spots for everyone.
And tying back to that housing theme we were talking about, the Red Tail Crossing project just had its grand opening in San Pedro. This is a really big deal. It's bringing 47 desperately needed, climate-friendly, affordable housing units to the community.
And finally, a story about stability. Sling Pilot Academy, which is a major flight school in Torrance, has officially worked out its business license issues with the city. That's great news because it secures the future for over 90 employees and 200 students. It really shows that even the tough local problems are finding solutions.
So you've got these massive real estate projects on one side and all these vibrant local openings on the other? This mix of big change and grassroots energy brings up a really important question about how we all, how we understand and talk about what's happening.
When a community is changing this quickly, how does anyone make their story heard? How does a developer, a new business, or even a classic local spot shape the conversation around all this transformation?
Well, this is where having a clear game plan for communication is everything. The best way to do it usually follows a pretty simple path. First, you got to nail down your core message. What's the one thing you really bring to the table? Then you have to create something compelling, like a short, powerful video that gets that message across. And finally, you have to push that story out on all the digital channels where your community is already hanging out.
So, let's actually apply that to the stories we've been talking about. For a new spot like Tiki Kai, the story is all about fun and energy, right? You'd want a vibrant launch video for that. For the developers on Rosecrans, the story has to be about community benefits, explaining exactly why those 100 affordable units matter. For an icon like Mickey's Deli, it's a story of legacy and growth. And for Sling Pilot Academy, it's a powerful story of bouncing back and working with the city. See? Every single one has a unique story that adds to the bigger picture of the new South Bay.
All right, let's zoom out and look at the big picture again. All these different things, the real estate proposals, the new restaurants, they're all pieces of a puzzle that are starting to show us what's next for the South Bay.
I think this quote from the source material just nails it. The whole region is shifting away from all this uncertainty and moving into a phase of structured growth. The key word there is structured. This isn't random, it's intentional. It's about deciding to prioritize things like housing as the new foundation for the economy.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. As the South Bay starts writing this exciting and sometimes pretty challenging next chapter, the stories we tell about it matter more than ever. They're what will shape how people feel, build support for new ideas, and ultimately define the kind of community we become. So the real question is, what story are we all going to choose to tell?